भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयाम् उदीरयेत् शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना हृदयन्तस्थो हि अभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सताम् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. Today we are going to read from Canto 4, the creation of fourth order, chapter 26. King Puranjana goes to the forest to hunt and his queen becomes angry. So verse 9 and 10. तत्र निर्भन्न गात्राणां चित्र वाजयशिली मुखै विप्लवो दुःखितानां दुष्याः करुणात्मनां. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When King Puranjana was hunting this way, many animals within the forest lost their lives with great pain, being pierced by the sharp arrowheads. Upon seeing these devastating, ghastly activities performed by King, all the people who were merciful by nature become very unhappy. Such merciful persons could not tolerate seeing all this killing. Purport: when demoniac persons engage in animal killing, the demigods or the devotees of the Lord are very much afflicted by this killing. Demoniac civilizations in this modern age maintain various types of slaughterhouses all over the world. Rascal swamis and yogis encourage foolish persons to go on eating flesh and killing animals and at the same time continue their so-called meditation and mystical practices. All these affairs are ghastly, and a compassionate person, namely a devotee of the Lord, becomes very unhappy to see such a sight. The hunting process is also carried on in a different way. As we have already explained, hunting women, drinking different types of liquor, becoming intoxicated, killing animals, and enjoying sex all serves as the basis of modern society, modern civilization. Vaishnavas are unhappy to see such a situation in the world, and therefore they are very busy spreading in Krishna consciousness movement. The devotees are pained to see the hunting and killing of animals in the forest, the wholesale slaughter of the animals in the slaughterhouses, and the exploitation of young girls in brothels that function under different names as clubs and societies. Being very much compassionate upon the killing of animals in sacrifice, the great sage Narada began his instructions to King Prachina Barhisat. In these instructions, Narad Muni explained that devotees like him are very much afflicted by all the killings that goes on in human society. Not only are saintly persons afflicted by killing, but even God Himself is afflicted and therefore comes down in the incarnation of Lord Buddha. Jayadev Goswami therefore sings, Sadaya Hridaya Darshita Pashughatam. Simply to stop the killing of animals, Lord Buddha compassionately appeared. Some rascals put forward the theory that an animal has no soul or is something like dead stone. In this way, they rationalize that there is no sin in animal killing. Actually, animals are not dead stone, but the killers of animals are stone hearted. Consequently, no reason or philosophy appeals to them. They continue keeping slaughterhouses and killing animals in the forest. The conclusion is that one who does not care for the instructions of saintly persons like Narada and his disciplic succession surely falls into the categories of Nasta Prajna and thus goes to hell. Verse 10. Shashan Varahan Mahishan Gavayanuru Shalyakan Medhyan Anyam Shavividhan Vinignan Shraman Adhyagat. In this way, King Puranjana killed many animals, including rabbits, boars, buffalo, bison, black deer, porcupines, and other game animals. After killing, the king became very tired. Purport. A person in the mode of ignorance commits many sinful activities. In the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami explains that a man becomes sinful out of ignorance only. The resultant effect of sinful life is suffering. Those who are not in knowledge, who commit violations of the standard laws, are subjected to be punished under criminal laws. Similarly, the laws of nature are very stringent. If a child touches fire without knowing the effect, he must be burned, even though he is only a child. If a child violates the law of nature, there is no compassion. Only through ignorance does a person violate the laws of nature. And when he comes to knowledge, he does not commit any more sinful acts. The king became tired after killing so many animals. When a man comes in contact with saintly person, he becomes aware of the stringent laws of nature and thus becomes a religious person. Irreligious persons are like animals, but in this Krishna consciousness movement, such persons can come to a sense of understanding things as they are and abandon the four principles of prohibited activities, namely illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. This is the beginning of religious life. Those who are so called religious and indulge in these four principles of prohibited activities are pseudo religionists. Religious life and sinful activity cannot parallel one another. If one is serious in accepting a religious life or the path of salvation, he must adhere to the four basic rules and regulations. However, however sinful a man may be, if he receives knowledge from the proper spiritual master and repents his past activities, his sinful life, and stops them, he immediately becomes eligible to return home back to Godhead. This is made possible just by following the rules and regulations given by the Shastra and following the bona fide spiritual master. At present, the whole world is on the verge of retiring from a blind materialistic civilization, which may be likened to hunting animals in the forest. People should take advantage of this Krishna consciousness movement and leave their troublesome life of killing. It is said that the killers of animals should neither live nor die. If they live only to kill animals and enjoy women, life is not very prosperous. And as soon as a killer dies, he enters the cycle of birth and death in the lower species of life. That also is not desirable. The conclusion is that killers should retire from the killing business and take to this Krishna consciousness movement to make life perfect. A confused, frustrated man cannot get relief by committing suicide because suicide will simply lead him to take birth in the lower species of life or to remain a ghost, unable to attain a gross material body. Therefore, the perfect course is to retire altogether from the sinful activities and take up Krishna consciousness. In this way, one can become completely perfect and go back home, back to Godhead. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangvam langayate girim yat kripa tavaham vande Shri Gurundina Taranam. नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे. I would like to seek blessings from all the Vaishnavas who are present here. Please empower me so that I can correctly present this topic in accordance with scriptural injunctions, and this attempt can purify the mind and heart of myself as well as the listeners. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. So I collected few points from senior Vaishnavas. So as we know here, Maitreya continues narrating story to Vidura about the Prachetas, and in that story, Prachetas, uh, when the Prachetas, on the advice of Lord Shiva, they start performing severe austerities to beget children. Their father, on the other hand, Prachin Barhi, he was absorbed in the fruitive activities, in the Karma Kanda. And he was so much absorbed that he was also killing a lot of animals. In fact, it is said that even the citizens they were criticizing, and they were actually also, as in this sloka, it's mentioned that even they are compassionate and they were really praying hard. Hearing to the place, Narada Muni appears on the stage to correct the king. And in the process of correction, he kind of allegorically presents this beautiful story of Puranjana and his wife, right? So Puranjana, it represents our own self, and the beautiful wife represents our sane mind or intelligence. So in the King Puranjana stories, it is mentioned that the jiva who actually circles in all different forms of life finally comes and settles into a human body, which is has of 9 gates. And as soon as we are in this body and we are settled and there's a beautiful serenity, the nature, or because the nature of the jiva, or the jiva had this desire to enjoy independent of Krishna, it starts looking for hunting for its own pleasure, right? So here it mentioned hunting not only means the hunting of animals, but it can mean the hunting for opposite sex, liquor, and participating all these sensory activities. So that's how a body or a jiva is actually caught into this cycle of life and death. So what happens? What is the result of it? So in Shloka 10, it's mentioned that Puranjana, after hunting, right, after trying to satisfy your material desires extensively, it gets tired. So tiring, again, can be of two categories. Tiring temporarily. As we can see, the example could be taken as eating a rasagulla or gulab jamun. So when one eats one gulab jamun, it's so tasty, probably you want to have second. And then when you continue on third and fourth, literally you don't want, after 4 or 5 gulab jamuns, you become tired of sense pleasure. And then you start hating it, disgusting. So that's a temporary way of getting tired. But here, Narad Muni explains, or he means that this is actually context where the person come to a platform where he's fed up with sense gratification and thinks or looks for a higher reality or higher reality. So it is. And if you look at the Vedas also, I mean, there is always an argument that the Kshatriyas, they are permitted to kill. But why is King Barihisat was actually being criticized for it? So the scriptures, it's understood that these Vedas are designed in such a way so that because you have certain desires, you can act regulatively, and with that regulation, you come to slowly and slowly you come to a platform of renunciation where you can understand the scriptural science and then go ahead in the for the purpose to satisfy the purpose of human existence. But when this is done in excessive, what happens is it acts contrary. So Prabhupada also explained that when who are like the meat eaters, their intelligence is not developed. And when their intelligence is not developed, how would we ever be able to understand scriptures? In fact, of understanding scriptures, they would feel averse to the spiritual path. That is what we see. So that is the whole reason why these four regulative principles, what Srila Prabhupada has mentioned, are most important and has to be followed. So the intelligent person, as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 5:22, yehi sansparshaja bhogo dukkha yonaya evate adhyantvantaha kaunteya na teshu ramate buddha. O son of Kunti, such pleasure have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. So this is exactly what happens when we actually, and it's supposed to bring the human life, which we have personally chosen to be in this body, has to bring this kind of realization eventually. So that's the whole purpose for us that Krishna, even though it is described, the world is a perfect place, but we do not see it because we understand in a different way. We take it in terms of there is a dukkha in this world. But as we know, the Krishna who is the creator, he says that it is actually meant for, it has to be seen as a jail where the person who is sick is admitted. And through the process of going through the life, he comes to a platform in understanding that this is a temporary, there is a beginning and end of all this sense satisfaction that we aspire or hanker for. Instead, we should hanker for something beyond, which is the spiritual science. The spiritual science. The one who takes up the spiritual science, he is completely satisfied. So that is the whole purpose. And Prabhupada also said that one has to take advice from the spiritual master, because spiritual master, as it is said, he has actually seen the truth. And who has actually seen the truth can only guide us in the right way. That is why it's very important that we choose our spiritual master and follow the instructions, because with our own conditioning, we can um, we can divert ourselves. So that is why we have to be in the under the guidance of the spiritual master. And who and what better spiritual master can we expect other than our own Shiksha Guru or of Srila Prabhupada, right? So he has established such a wonderful society of devotees, and just being in the care of devotees, we can progress in the spiritual life. So these were some of the points that I could gather. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and please forgive me for any mistakes and open for any